UBM Praise proudly presents Warriors Talk. Warriors Talk. Warriors Talk. Warriors Talk. Warriors Talk. Warriors Talk. Warriors.
You have just tuned in to Warriors Talk with your host, Lady Rochelle. Warriors Talk is a platform to address how cancer, as well as other diseases, are running rampant throughout our country and how we can move away from awareness to taking action. Warriors Talk will empower listeners by keeping them informed, connected to services, and encourage them to thrive while surviving.
Welcome to Warriors Talk. I am your host, Lady Rochelle, and we are on UBM Talk, and I'm so excited you have chosen to tune in today. It is Testimonial Tuesday, and I would like everyone to please stay connected with me on all kinds of social media, Facebook /Warriors Talk with the Nest, Twitter @Warriors Talk 1, Instagram Warriors Talk 1. You can email me show ideas at warriorstalk1@gmail.com. If you ever miss a live broadcast of the show, you can always go to Spreaker.com, and that's Spreaker.com. Follow me, and I will follow you back. You can also subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle, as I keep my eyes on the community and report back to you the different things that are going on as far as cancer and other diseases that are affecting our community. You can call in at 312-754-4333, and we would love to hear from you. As always, we dedicate a show to someone, and this show is actually dedicated to everyone who's dealing with cervical cancer. We wish them well on their journey, and we pray that God would be glorified in their body. On the last show we talked to Candace. She was actually a 6-year cancer survivor. She actually embraced laughter to help her survive the storm. She definitely came out laughing on the other side, healed, restored, with a new zest for life. Not only did cancer not steal her joy, but it gave her a new life after the storm. She is now witnessing to others in battle. It didn't take away her smile. She cried sometimes, but we know with a cancer battle or anything that you're dealing with that alters your life, you're going to have moments to where you're going to be down. But her main thing is that she kept laughter in her life. And the most important days are the ones where you can wake up from your storm and not be devastated and erase the residue that you have from the storm, knowing that there's going to be a rainbow after that storm. So if you could take anything away from that particular show, know that laughter is always the best medicine after the storm. And our healing scripture is coming from Psalms 130:5. I am counting on the Lord. Yes, I am counting on Him. I have put my hope in His word.
When Charlene Wallace was first diagnosed with cancer, her doctor recommended she participate in a clinical trial, testing a promising new cancer therapy.
Initially, I was apprehensive, thinking, clinical trial, no, don't try anything on me.
Eventually, she saw the wisdom in at least considering joining the trial. But before she actually took part, she needed to deal with an awful part of the past.
When I think about clinical trials, the first thing that comes to mind is the Tuskegee study.
Tuskegee was a U.S. government syphilis study from the 1930s until 1972. Nearly 400 African-American men took part. But to measure its effects over time, the men were never told they had the disease, and its symptoms were never treated. Decades later, when the study was revealed, 28 men had died.
And I think about what was done during that time, how people were treated, and I think how unfortunate it was, and how unfortunate that it's still embedded within the African American community.
There are cultural barriers. The African American community remembers Tuskegee.
Ellen Siegel works to educate people about the concept of clinical trials.
The first thing that people have to understand is that Before a patient ever gets enrolled in a clinical trial or a clinical trial gets approved, there are many layers of approval. There are many layers.
Researchers say the days of a Tuskegee-like debacle are gone forever. Today, clinical trials designed to test therapies and treatments that have shown promise in the laboratory are scrutinized for patient safety and protection issues long before the actual trial gets underway. Experts say this close monitoring is often missing when patients are treated with standard therapies.
When you're treated off a clinical trial, nobody collects the data. Nobody knows how many people respond. Nobody knows how many people had side effects. Nobody knows anything other than that one doctor.
Participating in a clinical trial is voluntary, but participation rates are so low that many experts believe patients aren't getting the proper information about which clinical trials may be available and how they might benefit from them.
I guess my concern is that because I'm one who believes that clinical trials represents the cutting edge of medicine, and because only 3% of patients go on clinical trials, I have questions about whether all the options or the options are really presented to the patients.
Dr. Atkins recalls how AIDS patients came out in droves for clinical trials. That, he says, led to a dramatic progress with treatment.
They knew that that was going to be the cutting edge. They knew that's where the new drugs were.
Charlene decided to join that clinical trial and today considers herself a clinical trial success story.
It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. It's a feeling of survivalship. It's a feeling of empowering myself, empowering others, to let people know that, hey, you know, this is a battle we can absolutely win.
Researchers hope that as the number of volunteers increases, more new discoveries to fight cancer will follow.
All right, so our battle of the day is understanding clinical trials. And my special guest for today is a 20-year cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with cancer in 1995. Upon completion of treatment, she became involved with the hotline counseling, breast cancer education classes, and she's actually an advocate for research. Her passion is helping minorities understand the clinical trial process. Welcome to Warriors Talk, Rosemarie Rogers.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here because the topic that we're going to discuss, it's a sensitive topic. It is. And I think that especially in the African American community, we shy away from clinical trials. So the purpose of the show is to shed some light on that subject so that we can erase some of the misconceptions that go along with participating in the clinical trial process. So just tell us about your history and how you actually became a part of being an advocate for the clinical trial process.
Okay, as you said, I was diagnosed in 1995, and I had my treatment. I was a year out. I wanted to get involved in something to do with cancer. And when I initially called, there was an organization, Why Me Breast Cancer Organization. I knew that they helped survivors, so I called them to get information. And my initial call to the organization, a woman asked me what type of breast cancer did I have. I had just found out that morning that I had cancer, and
oh, wow.
Like everyone else, you know, I thought breast cancer was breast cancer. I didn't know there were different types.
Right.
So in speaking with her, she was kind of rude. She told me to call my doctor back, find out what type of cancer I had. When I got off the phone, I didn't call my doctor back, but I made a promise to myself that I was going to get involved with this organization, find out who this woman was, and let her know that I was kind of upset with her about the way that she had spoken to me. After I finished all my treatment, they always tell you that the first year you should not be involved with breast cancer organizations. Give yourself a chance to heal and then possibly get involved. So after that first year, I went to Why Me. I started going to a support group with them. After I did the support group for a while, one of the women asked me if I wanted to be a co-coordinator of the support group. And we had a dynamic group of women involved. They didn't sit around and cry when we met. On occasion, one might have. I'm sorry. One might have, depending on what was going through her life. But we got together, we talked, we did different things. Well, that led to me getting involved with YME's hotline training. At the time, YME had 21 chapters around the country. I got trained to go out and talk to women about being on the hotline. And I'd like to say that my working on that hotline was some of the most rewarding work that I had ever done. I haven't done anything with the organization disbanded, but I stopped working with them back in 2007. But there are still women today that I answered that hotline call and helped them through what they were going through. We've kept in touch all these years.
I'm sorry, so was the hotline like similar to what the American Cancer Society had when they hook you up with different people when you have questions, people who are going through the same situation?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline.
Oh, wow.
When it initially started out, you could get a call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you might talk with someone for an hour, 2 hours. I had even spoken with a woman for almost 3 hours about what she was going through with her cancer.
Oh, wow. You know what? I think that's an important thing you brought up about not getting into any type of support groups when you first get started. I think that's important because you're trying to process what's going on. I think a lot of people are not told that when they're going through. Just like the lady was rude to you, she probably thought maybe your doctors already told you what was going on. And then to actually have that hotline where people can actually call in, because 9 times out of 10, you can't go to anybody in your family and say, this is what I'm feeling, because they're not going to understand. So you want to go to somebody who's been through the process already and who can kind of ease your mind, who's on the other side.
And that was the main reason for the hotline. When I was diagnosed at 5, I knew no one who had cancer. When I was young, my neighbor's mom, and that was back in the 50s, 60s, I think, she died from breast cancer. But other than that, I didn't know anyone. When I went to work, when I actually found out that I had cancer, I told everyone because I didn't know who I needed to go to.
Right.
My initial treatment, you talk about finding out things. I had a gynecologist. I happened to find a lump in my breast. I was exercising. I was at work one day, and I thought I was kind of sore because I'd been lifting weights. And I just happened to cross my arms, and I felt this knot in my breast. It was about the size of a pecan.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'll never forget the secretary standing there telling me, it's not, I know you're not worried about it being cancer. Cancer doesn't hurt. Misconception
I heard
about
that.
cancer.
Yes.
It can hurt. It doesn't have to. But the other thing was, I had a mammogram in December. I found this lump that, as I said, was the size of a pecan in my breast in October.
Wow.
So I tell people, don't depend on mammograms. Get to know your body. And if you feel something isn't right, find out about it.
Yes.
So that was my initial journey. And as I said, I became involved with the hotline. And when I started training, one of the things we would do, we'd go out to the churches, we'd go to different companies, businesses. In October, everyone wants someone to come in and speak about breast cancer. I enjoyed doing it at first, but I also met a woman who said, you need to get more involved. And I was asking her, what does a more involvement mean? And, she said, there are thousands and thousands of us who are survivors who want to go in front of someone and say, I'm a survivor, look at me. She says, but there's a lot more to it.
Yes.
And she told me about this organization out of Washington, D.C., the National Breast Cancer Coalition. And she says, get involved with them and you'll enjoy it. And I did. I got sponsored to go to one of their conferences, and you met thousands and thousands of women who were there to learn about breast cancer, how breast cancer affected everyone. They had researchers, they had scientists coming in. And she says, okay, we're not finished with you yet. You need to go and take a class. And the class involved, it was called Project Lead, and it teaches you the science of breast cancer. Now I have to go back a little bit and say I had 2 years of college, and it was in criminal justice. It had nothing to do with science. It had nothing to do with the human body, none of that. So I went and took this class. It was in September 2001, and I remember that because it was 2 weeks after the attack in New York.
Oh, okay.
And we were in D.C. for this class. We were in class from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, my
For
goodness.
5 days. And they had scientists and researchers coming in teaching you the science of breast cancer.
Wow.
The mechanisms, the travel paths. You learned a lot, but I found out there was a lot that I still didn't know. But it just piqued my interest.
Was it scary learning all of the information?
It was scary, but there were people there who knew as little as I did.
Okay.
There were people there who knew a lot more than I did. They had nurses, they had doctors who were coming in taking class, just people who were interested in learning about breast cancer. And when I came back home, I just started going online, looking at the different. Once you get your foot in the door, it opens up a whole
Yes.
new world for you, and you become involved with the different research organizations out there. The next thing that she did, well, now that you've taken that class, we're going to put your name into Department of Defense, believe it or not, runs a breast cancer program. They actually run a health program. And over the years, they would contribute $150 million to breast cancer research.
Oh, wow.
And scientists from all over could apply for this money. They would submit their grants to Department of Defense. I was now known as a consumer advocate, and a consumer advocate had a responsibility to review the grants. If you had federal funds and you wanted to use those federal funds, you had to have a consumer advocate on that grant with you. But also, when it came to the researchers and scientists looking at the grants to see if they were appropriate for breast cancer research, it had to be an advocate. You did not have to understand all of the scientific terminology, because believe me, I did. The first time I reviewed them, I was up all night. I went to the library looking up some of the scientific terminology. You would go to D.C. and sit with a team of researchers who were also on the same grant as you were, and then they would review that grant. You would have your submissions. First time I did, I must have written about 10 pages of what I thought.
Learning experience.
Yes. Luckily, I wasn't one of the first reviewers up. Someone else was. When I saw this other woman sit there and give out 3 paragraphs worth of why she thought it was or wasn't important, I looked over at another advocate. We went back to our rooms that night and rewrote everything. So
wow.
There was some humor in it, but those first few days kind of tense. But I got kind of hooked on it after that, and I wanted to learn more and more. The one problem I found with it was that first year I did grant review, I was only black in the room.
Oh.
Second year I did grant review, there was a black researcher sitting on our team. And as I'm listening to the scientists and the researchers going through each grant that we had, you could tell, unfortunately, sometimes when a grant came from an institution that may have been a minority institution, you could just tell the way
Wow.
you could tell
Okay.
how it was done and everything. They eventually went to blinded review where you didn't know researchers.
Oh, okay.
But still now, in this day and age, that community, the way it's set up, a lot of them you can still figure out who's submitting it. But being one of the few minorities in the room when they were reviewing grants, it was like, something's not right with this picture. The second time I reviewed, and I had the black scientists on there, we talked afterwards, and I said, is this normally processed? And he says, if you don't get minorities involved, how will it ever change? He said,
Exactly.
you look at the grants that are coming in, you look at the research that they're doing, when they need individuals to be a part of this, if you can't get minorities to come in, you've wasted money in designing a grant or a clinical trial.
So that money
if you don't
goes,
have the participants.
does it
for
go back in the pool or go somebody else apply?
Well, no. Well, that grant is not going to be approved because if you need 100 women and you want to compare, you say 50 Caucasian and 50 black. If you basically know if you're going to get those 50 black to participate. If you don't, how can a trial be successful?
Exactly. Wow. So clinical trials. I think when you hear clinical trials, people think guinea pig. I'm going to be a guinea pig for something that may or may not work.
Okay. Taking it one step further. When you were treated, what type of treatment did you have?
I did the chemo, I did the surgery, and the radiation.
How many rounds of chemotherapy did you have?
16.
16. Okay, depending on your type of cancer. When I was treated, again, we're talking 20 years ago, my chemotherapy was 4 treatments. But right at that time, it was based on someone previous to that getting 6 treatments, getting 10 treatments. They found that they could give a stronger dose of chemotherapy for a shorter period of time, and that would be just as effective as giving 6 doses, 10 doses. And again, it depends on the makeup of your cancer also. So I was the beneficiary of someone else taking chemotherapy before me, getting a stronger dose. When I got my chemotherapy, they asked me to participate in a clinical trial.
Oh, wow.
One of the problems I have, I can't even take aspirin. No-dose, those things that help you go to sleep. If I took one of those, it would knock me out so bad. So I'm not one of those individuals who can take certain things and get a benefit out of it. When I went back to work, at that time I was working in the office. People in my office sat with me while we went through the clinical trial protocol that was given to me. And as we went through it, we looked at the different things that they said were side effects of it. And as my coworker said, you can't take aspirin, you can't take sleeping pills, you can't do this, you can't do that. This may not be the perfect thing for you. So I didn't get into that. But as it wound up, when I took my first treatment of chemotherapy, I wound up in the hospital for a week because my white counts went down so low. They were afraid that if I got an infection, it could be
wipe you.
Fatal to
Yes.
me. So I wound up in the hospital with that. But after that, I've been involved in several different clinical trials, and I've also been involved in studies, and there's a difference between the two.
What's the difference?
Well, a study can investigate, a study can look at your environment. We know that some of the foods that we eat, where we live, all of those may be involved in what affects our body, our DNA, our genes. So scientists now are looking at, have studies out that look at where you live, what you eat, do you exercise? And some of these studies have led to findings that where we live, what we eat, if we exercise, puts us at risk for cancer.
Exactly.
So that's the big difference in studies. And there are always something going on. A lot of people talk to me about, you have millions and millions of dollars going in for research, and nothing comes about from it.
I hear that a lot.
But the problem is our bodies are made up of genes. When you have breast cancer, there are over 75 different genes that could mutate in your body for you to develop cancer. So we have researchers looking at one particular gene leading down one particular pathway, and they think that they're moving forward. And then they find out, oh, wow, here's a gene that we didn't know about that does certain things that create that cancer. I mean, the dynamics of it are so, I hate to use the word amazing, but when you start looking at how our bodies are and what we do and don't know about it, it makes a big difference.
Oh, when you start talking about genes, I was thinking about the BRCA test.
Right.
Because even though you take that test and they say, oh, you test negative, you test positive, they tell you that there may be some genes that they haven't even made up a test for yet.
That's right.
And so they don't even know about it. And I'm just like, that's kind of scary too, because even though you say, okay, you're testing negative, there could be something else in my genes that you can't even test me for that may be causing me to have had breast cancer.
And that is true, but I tell people we can't worry about what we don't know. If you're diligent in getting your mammograms, if you're just diligent in your health, exercising, attempting to eat right, which sometimes we don't do, the only thing you could do is go forth and
I think sometimes we take it for granted, the eating right, the exercising. I think some people think there's more to it than that. And that's the basis of it, because your body feeds off of everything else in the environment. So if you are taking care of that and it's strong, I know when I was getting ready to go through chemo, they run all the scans, they scan your heart, they scan your body just to make sure that you're strong enough to get through what you have to go through. And, just going through all of that, my doctor was like, oh, you're strong enough to get through it. I'm like, how do you know I'm strong enough to get through?
There are no guarantees.
Right.
Look at all of the people who eat healthy. Never forget who was Paul McCartney's first wife. She was a vegetarian. She did all the things that you needed to do that were the right thing to do. And she died from breast cancer.
And I try to tell people that cancer does not discriminate. It doesn't. It doesn't care who. You could be doing all the right things and it still can affect you.
It does.
It can. It's something that happens in your DNA that goes wrong. Your DNA somehow gets damaged.
Yes.
And cells go rogue in your body. And, the medicine and the holistic treatments are all there to kind of help put it back intact if you can.
And it doesn't always work.
It doesn't.
The dynamics of cancer. So, we talk about stress. And how stress damages the DNA. They talk about telomeres in the body, and it's like, I always equate it to a telephone wire that has little coils on the inside.
How easy they are.
Coils
Yes.
get frayed. Those are the telomeres in your body that get frayed, and what do you do to repair those? So, and in this day and age, and what people are going through with their environment, with their jobs, with their home, all of those forces come into play, and they affect individual negatively. I tell people, take time for yourself. If it's nothing more than meditating for 5 minutes a day, find a little room or someplace to go when you're on your job, and you know that you cannot say something to one of your coworkers, go in the bathroom and sit for a few minutes and meditate. It makes a big difference.
I like that. I know when we went to the training for Warrior in Pink, they had the meditation early in the morning. And so that was my first time ever meditating. And I actually enjoyed it. I didn't keep up with it when I left, but I actually, enjoyed it because I really have to sit down and figure out how to do it myself. But I sat there and I actually enjoyed it. It really brought a peace over me before I started my day. Yes. So,
Or end your day. Or the middle of
the day. You decide.
You decide when you feel that the power's around you, and you cannot control your environment. If you're driving down the street and you see someone cut in front of you, let them go. And then I always say, just take a deep breath and exhale, because that's how we control who we are, not who someone else is over there.
Exactly. I've always said that I contribute my breast cancer to stress. So I was just talking to my mom on the way here, and, I was like rushing to get here because I left late. And she was like, you can't be under any stress, right? So don't worry about it. Just go and you'll get there when you get there. And I'm like, oh, that's easier said than done. So sometimes we bring stress on ourselves, unnecessary stress.
Yes.
And like you said, to take out a couple of minutes in your own little closet and just meditate. Take time for yourself.
I remember you talk about getting here on time. Dr. Margaret Burroughs from DuSable Museum, the year was 1981, and she did a Black History program. And I don't know what else she said, but the one thing I remember is she says, if you have to be somewhere, leave early to get there. She says, because what you go through trying to get there at the last minute is not worth it.
It's not.
That was 1981, and those words always ring with me. I said, let me get someplace early, sit, have a moment to relax.
Yes.
And then you go from there, and you're not worried about, am I going to be there on time? Or am I going to do this? Am I going to make that train? And I never forget that. I saw a gentleman running for a train. He slipped and fell, and his hand went down in the door.
Oh, my goodness.
And it shut on him. And I thought about what she said about being in a hurry to do things. So
just let it go. Ooh. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to listen to this song by Tamela Mann, and it was written and produced by Kirk Franklin, and it is called God Provides.
God provides, so why do I worry about my life? When you come to my rescue 1,000 times, every other voice, it is a lie. God provides, God provides in ways I can't explain and can't deny. The little that I have, He multiplies. Just when I feel He won't show up on time, God provides. He'll come through when the clouds of doubt rain down on you and test everything you thought you knew. Now you finally see what God can do for you. So tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. Watch God provide. God provides. It's hard to say when there's no food to eat, or what you see feels all that life will be. And will this be another year of misery for me? But my faith can't survive on just things I see, and my feelings can't control my destiny. See, God, I only want what you believe for me. So tonight, close your eyes, no more need to fight. Ooh, watch God provide. Yeah, He will provide before your eyes. Oh, He will. Close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. So tonight, close your eyes, there's no...
Whether you need home, car, life, renters, or business insurance, Paula Kelly and her staff specialize in all your insurance needs. Paula Kelly Allstate Insurance Agency is located at 297 East Glenwood Lansing Road, Glenwood, Illinois. Give her a call today, 708-758-3300, or email her at paulakelly@allstate.com, PAULAKELLY@allstate.com, or show her some love and like her on Facebook and get your quotes for what you need today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Emmanuel Church of God in Christ, Pastor Michael A. Richardson serves as our pastor. Emmanuel is located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois, 60612. Order of services on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. is Sunday school. Morning worship takes place at 11 a.m. Every first Sunday, we have pastoral prayer at 9 a.m. and Holy Communion is served after the morning worship service. Join us for Bible studies on Wednesdays, 6:45 for prayer and 7 for the Bible Institute classes. Join us at Emmanuel, where we are building upon a solid foundation.
And we are back. This is Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle here on UBM Talk. And I am sitting here with the lovely Rosemary Rogers, and we are talking about understanding clinical trials. And we do realize that there are some myths and misconceptions when it comes to clinical trials. We talked about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment and how these men were, I'll say, baited. That's the word I'm going to use, to participate in this study. And from what I read, they didn't sign a consent form. And they were actually not even treating them for the syphilis. And they were offering them free medical exams, burial insurance. They was giving them free meals, but they wasn't tending to the actual problem, helping them to get better. So I think just listening and knowing the history of that particular clinical study, it kind of like make African Americans afraid to want to participate. And I think it's all about because you don't know. It's the unknown. And knowing that, you feel like we're going to be misled. They're going to be dishonest. There are going to be some things they're going to be doing to us that we don't know about. Like you said at work with the people at work, and they actually went through your study line by line to figure out if this was actually even appropriate for you. Sometimes, we don't take the time to read things to see if it's even appropriate for us. It may not even be. So today I just want to clear up some of the misconceptions about clinical trials so that, as Rosemary was saying, in order for them to help find new medicine to better treat us, we're going to have African American, Latinos, people to come in that they can study so that they can know how to better treat us, what works, what doesn't work. Because if we don't have our particular people to work with, then when they're working on these different studies and when they're working on a cure, we're not going to be factored in.
That's correct. One of the things you have to realize now, too, is when there's a study, you're talking about informed consent. If you go into an oncologist's office and they ask you to participate in a study, they have to go over the study with you.
Okay.
You have to sign saying that you understand. If for any reason you decide that you do not want to continue with the study, you have the choice to opt out. You don't have to stay in it. And I said, this is one of the things. There are patient advocates in most every institution now who will work with you, who will help you go through these studies. It's to a researcher's, it's to his advantage to have you understand it and make sure that you know everything that is about to happen to you, how long it will be, what you will be taking. It's to his advantage. So to have people participate in it and they get in and say they don't know and they want out, that does damage to that researcher's project. So you're not going to have that happening today.
Wow. So it's important that you actually go in and understand what's going on. And if you don't, like you said, the doctors will sit there and go
It
through
won't
the
be a
study.
doctor in
Or
all probability
I had a
there.
navigator or somebody like that will go through it with you. But ask questions. If you don't understand, and you, ask questions, like you say, you went to the dictionary, you looked up words, go on the internet, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. So one of the myths that I found on the internet, it says clinical studies are not safe. I'll be gambling with my health if I sign up.
Okay, what happens in a clinical trial? There are stages. When someone develops a medicine, a drug that they hope may help you or someone else, the first stage is they try it out on lab animals. After that, when they see that it may be going the way that they want, they will get a small group of individuals to come in and they test the, as they call it, the efficacy of the drug to see how much that they can give to you without doing harm. If they find that that has been, if they find that that is set up and there are no damages, I guess that's the word I want to use. The next step is they open it up and they come up with a clinical trial where they recruit X number of people. And you actually kind of need like two groups, the control group and the group that not. One is going to get a placebo or standard treatment. Let me say
That placebo, right.
Standard
Okay.
treatment versus the drug. You won't know who's getting which one. I mean, that's called blinded. You will not know.
I think some people, when you say that placebo, some people get turned off because they figure like, I'm not going to be getting treated. They're going to be giving me a sugar pill.
No. If you have gone in for cancer treatment, they cannot not give you treatment. But if they have an investigational drug that they want to use and they're hoping that that will be beneficial and treat some people, they will divide it up.
Okay. Wow.
So when I say placebo, that was the wrong word.
Well, you
to
did say
use.
standard. No, you did. You said
Standard
standard treatment and then the drug that they're coming up with.
The investigational drug.
Okay. So that makes sense to me. That makes sense. Okay. The next one says, I should agree to take part in a clinical study only if my cancer is terminal or there's no other treatment options available outside of the study.
No. Again, and to be real honest, when you enroll in a clinical trial, the reality is that drug really isn't to help you. It's to help future
people, yes.
generations.
True.
You may get a benefit out of it, but they can't sit there and tell you, oh, this one is for you. This is for the future generation of people to come. So
you're just basically doing your part to help find a cure.
Yes.
Okay. My health insurance won't pay for treatment provided through a clinical study.
That's a subject that I really can't give a definitive answer on. There may be some that don't. I mean, that's one thing that enrolling in the hospital and their patient navigator will talk with you about. I don't want to put that out there.
Right.
It's not an area I'm familiar with.
And the next one says, in a clinical study, cancer patients may be given therapy known to be not effective, which is that placebo effect.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to skip that one because we covered that. I will receive poor or better medical treatment in a clinical study.
No. When they say poor or better treatment, it is a drug that's being used on you that has not been approved at that time to go out to the general public. It is a trial, and a trial could result in good, or they could look at it and say, this is not doing what we expected it to do.
I think people, when you think it's a clinical study, I think they think they're the first ones that this is being tried on. Like you said, it comes in stages. So you're not the first stage that they started on with the drug.
It's not, but that small group that has been tested prior to them, what has been shown in that small group is that it looks like it's working, but a small group is not going to be the basis for what a larger group will.
Exactly.
You know, I hate to use the words more is better, but that is the reality, because you're getting different individuals. They have to have certain qualifications to come into it. But when you have a larger population, your results have a tendency to be better than what they would have had it not been. And again, taking it a step further, excuse me, there are people who've been diagnosed stage 3, stage 4 cancer, and they find out about a clinical trial, and they want to get enrolled into it, and they get upset when they can't get into that trial. They would skewer the results of that trial because other individuals have been in it. Say you come in and you're sick, and say unfortunately you die from that, then you're counted in that statistic, which is not a true statistic that it should be.
Wow. Okay, I'm just going to read some stuff from Facebook. This is from Elena Johnson. She said, I took the train home today and there were ads requiring volunteers. I wonder if it was real for health or just to have pin cushions to poke and hurt with no real results.
I don't understand. She said she saw an ad on the train for
volunteers, and she wondered if it was for real. Was it for real for health, or they just wanted to have pin cushions poking in you with no real results? And somebody answered, they said the trials are real, but some are searching for different results in exchange for a tiny gift card for most. I know they do offer that sometimes.
And they do. Clinical trials. Some clinical trials will pay you $25, $30, $40, $50. Some may be even more. That's a way of saying thank you for helping us. But to say pincushion, you have to read what the protocol is. What are they looking for? What do they want from you? You know, pincushion, what could that be? I've given blood. There's a study right now, the Black Women Study out of Boston University. It's gone now over 20 years. I've donated blood. I've donated saliva. They have questionnaires that you ask. And each year we get the results of that. And each year they find that X number of women who have been in that trial have developed cancer. Some have developed diabetes. And what that allows them to do is to go off in another direction and say, hey, we've got these women who've had cancer. Let's study this group now. We've got these women over here who've had diabetes. Let's look at their diet. There are different things that go into that, and all of it is to benefit us. And this study has been going on for 20 years. You know, taking it one step further, the organization that I'm involved with now is the Dr. Susan Love Research Foundation. It's out of California, but what they do, they have a group called the Army of Women, and they have over 370,000 women enrolled in it right now. Of that 370,000, approximately 17,000 are African American. And what she found was that researchers wanted to do research in all of us, but they were having problems finding people to participate in their studies or sometime clinical trials. So she started in 2008. She started an organization. She started the Army of Women. And she said, I've got these researchers who want to do projects, but they don't have the volunteers they need for that. If I put out what the researchers are looking for, and you women and men out there are interested in helping us determine the cause of disease, would you be interested? And her primary focus was looking, a lot of researchers are trying to come up with medications for cancer. Her thing is why don't we look at what caused the cancer and what we can do to prevent the cancer?
Exactly.
So the majority of her studies now focus on prevention and cause. And what this organization does, a researcher will submit his grant, and we have a team, they're called the advisory committee, which I'm a part of. They will send us these grants that these researchers have submitted, and we look at them and say, oh, this is a good idea. And they will send what they call an e-blast out to everyone who is registered, the 300 and some odd thousand women.
I've been getting stuff because I did, after you told me about it, I did register.
Okay. And they don't bug you. If you're interested in participating, you can look at the criteria. You can press the button and say, yes, have the researcher contact me. The researcher will send out a questionnaire and see if you actually qualify, and then from there, the researchers work with you as an individual. The one good thing about our organization, these researchers have to report back the results of any type of study or trial that they've done. And we've seen some interesting things come forward. Sometimes, as I say, it's just a questionnaire. I've done a saliva swab. I've had to give blood. I've got one at home now, and I can't remember which one it is I'm about to work on. But these are the things that help all of us as individuals to go forth. And again, they are grants that will be prevention and the cause of cancer.
And I think that's important. I think that's what set Dr. Susan Love Research Organization apart from the other ones. They're looking for a cure. They're looking for medicine, to cure cancer. And
well, she's looking for the cause.
She's looking for the cause.
And how to prevent it.
And we focus on that. Most of the money is in research. The majority of the money is in research.
We have to deal with what's going on right now. And it takes somebody, and she is innovative, to go forward and say, okay, there's all of this to the side.
Yes.
How about if we start looking at, and I tell everyone that I talk to, if they just if they can't remember anything else, go to the Army of Women on the website. You could pull up some of the studies that have been done. If you need more information, you can send an email in, and they will contact you. The reason I got involved with her, because 20 years ago when I had cancer, my mom lived in California, and she happened to call UCLA. And Susan Love picked up the phone and talked with my mom for over an hour and a half about breast cancer. And I didn't know any of that until after I had been treated and everything.
Wow.
And I told my mom I met this doctor at a conference, and I told her her name. And she says, oh, that's the woman I spoke to. And it's like, when? And she gave me some information. After meeting her, getting to know how passionate she was, I decided to get involved. And I've been involved since 2008 with her and what she does.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when you can see that a person is passionate about it, and it's easy for you to buy into their vision of what they're trying to do. And I see that you're definitely doing your part, because when you was telling me about it, I'm like, I never looked at it from that side, from the advocacy side before. Mainly because my head was in the clouds coming down from treatment and all of that. Once all of that subsides, then it's like, okay, what more can I do? Because this thing is running rampant in our African American community, and it does not have to. It's got to be more that we can do than telling women, go and get your mammograms. Make sure you're getting your mammograms on time. It's got to be something more that we can do outside of just getting a mammogram.
I mean, you talk about studies. I got some information the other day, and I was looking. Chicago's in the top 10 of cities with a high incidence of cancer. Why is that? What's going on?
Exactly.
I remember a few years ago, it was all on the news about Chicago was number one with disparities. I said, there's a lot of blame out there, too, with this. We have to get involved in our health care.
Yes,
I tell people all the time, we take care of our hair, we can go get our nails done.
Get our oil change on the car.
Met many women who sit there and say, oh, well, I felt something, but I just left it alone. And I say, if you feel something, if you know something isn't right,
yes,
go and find out about it. We don't always have to die.
Say that again.
We do not always have to die.
No, we don't.
And taking it one step further, there's this big controversy right now on mammograms.
Yes.
Does a mammogram do it? Does it not? When should I get it done?
Mhm.
When should I not do it? I understand the philosophy of a mammogram is not going to save your life.
No.
Because there are certain type of cancers, no matter
It won't
what
detect.
happened.
Yeah.
It'll show that it's there, but it will not save your life.
No.
So when I hear women say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to get a mammogram," it's like you're looking at it the wrong way.
I hear women that say, I don't even touch my breast. Like, I'm not touching my breast. They will only do it when they go get a mammogram. And I'm like, if you know someone who suffered from breast cancer, died from breast cancer, how can you not touch your breast? How can you not get to know the normal shape, feel, look of your own body and just walk blindly and then go to the doctor for them to, hoping that they find something? They may not even show on the mammogram. Then what?
Well, you know what? Taking it one step further, I'm sitting here and I listen to you and you have a scripture. I've gone into churches and given a presentation and people tell me, oh, it's meant to be. If this is what God wants for me, then this is how it's going to be and I'm not going to do anything. And my response back to them is, I believe too. I'll be honest, I'm not a regular church goer, but I believe that there's a power out there. I don't have the ability to be a doctor. I don't know if you do.
No.
You might.
No.
But there's someone over there that God has put this into them to help others.
I believe
and
that.
Their way of helping others is being a doctor.
I believe that.
So to sit there and say that, oh no, I'm going to pray on it, and if he wants me to be here, I'll be here. We have to stop that.
We do.
We really have to
We do.
stop that.
And I'm all for prayer. I'm all for prayer. But like you said, I believe the doctors are here for a reason. The medicine is here for a reason. And yes, pray. Yes, have faith. And do what you have to do. Consult God and say, order my footsteps. Guide me. He'll guide you to the right people that will get you through what you need to get through. I'm telling you, God preserved me through my treatment. He preserved me. And although I went through a lot of the things, the side effects from the chemo and stuff, but he preserved me through that whole thing. When people tell me a lot of stuff they went through, I'm like, I'm so ashamed to even tell my journey, because I'm looking at them like, I didn't really go through anything. Once I hear the stories, I feel like I haven't went through anything. So I'm all for prayer. I'm all for having faith, but I'm also all for taking responsibility for your own health. If you don't eat and you say, oh, well, God's going to take care of me. I don't have to eat. He's going to preserve me if it's meant for me to die. No, you have to eat. The food is here for a reason. Right. Water is here for a reason. Get up and move, walk. Like you said, don't be stressed. Surround yourself around positive people. Eliminate the people who bring stress into your life. There's so many things that we can do to help our own self, to be our own self-advocate, but we don't.
No.
And we wait to the last minute and we rely on the doctors to tell us what to do when we already know what to do for our own body.
It's amazing you talk about. I hear stories a lot, and I've learned to temper it by just going into me and not commenting, because someone always has a story to tell about somebody.
Don't they?
This happened to them.
I know.
And I just sit there and now I don't say anything at all. And it shouldn't be that way, but there are some people, I have learned, there's some people you'll never be able to help.
True.
Because they will have their opinion on, well, this happened so-and-so, and if you ask them to go in detail, there's no detail. It's just what someone has told them. And, it's unfortunate, too. There are a lot of cutbacks. I don't live in the city, but I know in the city of Chicago there are a lot of cutbacks. But there's a way to get a mammogram. There's a way that something doesn't feel right.
Silver Lining gives free mammograms.
Yes. There are other organizations out there. And we just have to go for it. People say they don't want to go to county. And I call it county. I don't know what it's called now. But
Stroger.
I always tell them, take your book.
Yes.
Go sit and people watch, read a book, meditate, pray, whatever. Go over there. They have some of the best doctors.
They do.
On staff there.
When you leave there, you are going to know everything that is wrong with you. You may be in there a week in the waiting room, but you're going to know everything when you walk out of there. I truly believe that you're going to know everything that's wrong with you. They do have the best doctors there. I think the county Stroger now, it gets a bad rep, but it's there for a reason. For people who don't have health insurance, there's really no excuse not to go to the doctor. It's really no excuse. Do you have anything else you want to cover? Any words of wisdom you want to give to the people?
No, I'm just hoping that over the next couple of days that our Army of Women has an increase in the number of ladies in the Chicago area joining. And even if you don't join, just go look at the website, see what we do. Tell some of your friends about it. We're all in this together.
Yes.
And if we don't help each other out, we're doomed to fall apart individually.
Exactly. So they can type in Army of Women?
Army of Women. If they can't remember Dr. Susan Love Research Foundation, Army of Women. And it was started, as she said, because we have to fight this. And as women, we fight it. Believe it or not, there are men in the organization also, because you do know that men get breast cancer.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So warriors, go to Dr. Susan Love and look up her studies, or type in Army of Women and look at some of the clinical trials that they have going on. And if you're interested, go ahead and join so that we can try and figure out exactly how to eradicate this also if possible. Rosemary Rogers, thank you so much. You have so much wisdom. I'm just excited that you came to share with everybody to kind of clear up some of the misconceptions when it comes to clinical trials.
Well, I hope I helped someone. I really hope. Just
you have.
If I got one person.
You have. On Facebook, they have been commenting that the information was very helpful. And so I'm thankful that you came in, and that people can now go on to Army of Women and just see for themselves what studies are going on to see how they can help and do their part. We need more African American women in the study. So if everybody do their part, then I think we will get ahead of this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Warriors, remember to keep thriving and surviving.
Lord, we need a resurrection, Lord. We were yet once dead, but now we are alive. God, we passed the test. Now, God, increase my faith, increase my loyalty, increase my steadfastness, Lord. God, I just want you to make me better. Lord, I want to be holier, Lord. I want to be more righteous, Lord. God, I want to be saved and set free. I want to be delivered, oh God. Delivered from people. Delivered from things. Delivered from circumstances. God, deliver me right now in the name of Jesus. Give me the strength, Lord. Give me the strength, Lord, that I need to endure. Because I know that weeping endures for a night. God, just help me hold on the morning. Because I know if I can make it the morning, everything will be all right. It's dark right now. It's dark. It's dim. But God, I need your help. Help us now, Lord. Help us now, Lord. Help us now, Lord. Hey, my God. Hey, God. Strength in the name of Jesus. Hey, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Strength in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. Oh, God. In the name of Jesus, I pray for strength for your chest right now. I come against the pain. I come against the discomfort. God, we need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a ram in the bush right now. If I shake under the bush, we pray for healing. We pray for deliverance. Hallelujah. Oh, God. Hallelujah. You said if we delight ourselves in you, you will give us the desires of our heart. Lord,
You have just tuned in to Warriors Talk with your host, Lady Rochelle. Warriors, remember, early detection, knowing your risk, reducing your risk, knowing your family history, and selecting healthier lifestyle choices are keys to saving lives. And always remember to thrive while surviving.